What is up, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Dudes Who Bet Sports.
So you wanna bet sports, but you need some advice on how to cash in big at a heck of a price. Well, if you want enough money to line your shorts, then you're in the right place. This is Dudes Who Bet Sports. Dudes Who Bet Sports, it's your favorite show. Dudes Who Bet Sports, where degenerates go. Dudes Who Bet Sports, time to change your approach with Aaron Halterman and his father, the coach. Let's ride.
Well, the Associated Press is full of shit.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dudes Who Bet Sports Show. We're on a little bit of a makeshift situation for me currently. Hopefully, I sound good and you can see me. Papa Dude, can you confirm?
Yes, you sound normal. You're on this extended road trip, and you're having all kinds of technical difficulties.
The road trip is getting close to an end, I think, when the technical difficulties start. No, what happened? They have very slow internet, and so videos, they're not going to work. Like, these streams aren't going to work. I'm going to delay. Well, I think this is like our 15th day here, and I'm out of, like, the fast data for the hotspot. So it's either very slow hotspot data that won't work on these, or their internet that won't work on these. So a little bit of a makeshift. I'm on my phone because my phone data is still very fast. So I'm on my phone. I'm also using the main computer to kind of run the back end. So it's going to be a little weird tonight, but we're all here. So that's the good news.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, we're going to do Pac-12 and Big Ten win totals. If you missed the show last week, we did SEC and Big 12. Had a lot of fun, got a lot of debates. I think this week will be even better because of the hot button issue of USC. For Papa Dude. We will get to that one in a minute. I know a few people from last week were ready for that USC one. What do you want to do? Do you want to start Pac-12 or do you want to start Big Ten?
Should we save the Pac-12 for last? What do you think?
We should. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's start the Big Ten.
All right.
Let's do it. Here, I've got like I said, I showed this to everybody last week. I've got my Phil Steele preview magazine. That's what I'm reading this off of and reading this from. So let's start with the Big Ten. Let's just do it. And I don't have these in alphabetical order like last week. I also can't pull up the website because, we got slow internet and it won't look very good. Hi, Truth Exposed. Good to see you. I know you wanted to see the last one. We did, but you're on for this one. All right, let's go. Ohio State. Let's go with the big dogs right off the bat. They are at 10.5 right now, Papa Dude. Ohio State last year went 11-2. They did lose to Michigan for the first time in forever. They also lost to Oregon early on in the season. They got better throughout the year. Like I said, 11-2 last year. What about this year?
Okay, here we go. Going to have some controversy right off the bat maybe here.
Let's do it.
All right. Hi, Isaac. Hi, Truth. And hi, Joey. Good to see you guys. Positives. There's lots of them. Offensively, they're very, very good. You know, they may have the best quarterback in the country. It's debatable between C.J. Stroud and the kid at Alabama. And, of course, that superstar out at USC. So, anyway, all kinds of good things on offense. Now, they did lose some receivers, which is, they lost some quality receivers, but they're still loaded on offense. The problem with Ohio State is defense. And it has been now for a couple of years. They've been kind of soft on defense, and that's why they lost a couple of games. Michigan destroyed them. They just ran right at them. And Oregon, which is not known for their toughness, did the same thing. So until they get that solved, they got a problem. But they've hired the defensive coordinator from Oklahoma State, and he did a tremendous job for Mike Gundy and the Cowboys. Their defense was really good last year, and they've never been very good. So this guy might make a difference at Ohio State. I question the coaching a little bit. I don't know how good a coach this guy is up there. I mean, obviously that's stupid to say because he's won a heck of a lot of games, but he's got great players. So let's look at their schedule. Interesting game. They got Notre Dame on the schedule. Aaron, is that a neutral site game or is that in Columbus?
It's in Columbus.
Okay, so then they will go to Notre Dame and return that game. That's one I think they'll win because it's in Columbus, but that's a toughie. Their other two non-conference games are nothing, so they're going to win those. I got 3 other games. Tell me what you think. I've got Wisconsin. That game's at Columbus, but Wisconsin's the kind of team they can beat them because they run it right at them. If it's Wisconsin's any good, they could beat them. I doubt it, though. The game at Michigan State is questionable, and the game at Penn State is questionable. Those are on the road, and those are tough places. A lot of people have them pegged for national championship, and I think they've got a great shot. I really do. If the defense is solved, the line's 10.5.
Mm-hmm.
I got them at 11. I'm going over.
Yeah, I have to go over on this one too. I think this team's going to be really good. Curtis Manilow says, Ohio State defensive issues were solved when they hired Jim Knowles. It certainly helped at Oklahoma State, a team that also was really poor defensively until he kind of got there and got them going. Yeah, I'm with you. I have this team in the national championship game. So I'm going to have to go over here. I love the offense. It's going to be very, very good once again. Defensively, they weren't good. They do have a lot of guys back. They are much more experienced this year. And hopefully the new kind of change in coordinator will kind of get them over the top. I got Ohio State over. The Notre Dame game's interesting. It kind of reminds me of the Oregon game last year. We all kind of assumed, well, it's in Columbus, they'll win. Oregon really smoked them in that game. I know it was just a 7-point game, but they kind of dominated them. So Notre Dame, I think it's an interesting game right off the bat. I don't think we should just assume that's a win. I don't see them having trouble with Wisconsin. I don't really see them having trouble with Michigan State. I think Penn State on the road, that's a game they usually struggle with. It'll probably be a whiteout night game. It usually is when they come in there to Penn State. The Michigan game, I'm surprised you didn't mention it. Michigan beats them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little bit of foreshadowing for what you think about Michigan this year more than Ohio State. But I mean, it's a big game. I think Ohio State gets revenge, though. I'm going 11. I think you're on.
I will say this about the coaching too, and again, this is coming from a guy that coached for a living for a long time. Guys, coaching's a little bit overrated sometimes. You've got to have players. I don't. You can't just hire this guy and say he's going to go in there and turn this around. They got to have players. Obviously, coaching means something, and obviously this guy knows what he's doing. Oklahoma State has some studs on defense. I mean, they were good. So Ohio State, I think they will be less soft. I think they're going to be a little tougher, and that's what they need. I still can't get past Michigan and Oregon just cramming it down their throats, and they did. We'll get to Michigan here in just a minute.
Yeah, the last thing you said there about and with Oklahoma State, they had a ton of guys. It was like their 5th and 6th year in school on that defense, and that made a big difference too. And like I said,
12, Aaron, and
yeah.
So look at the two conferences. To my opinion, there's no comparison between the Big Ten and the Big. The Big Ten's a lot tougher.
I agree. I totally agree. So it'll be interesting. Also, at Oklahoma State, any kind of improvement on that defense at all, you're going to be a legend. Here at Ohio State, if you go 11-1, they're going to want to fire you if your defense gave up 35 points in that loss. So whole different kind of pressure. We'll see what happens there. But I'm with you. I'm going the over. I think they're going to win 11 at least. So, all right, let's move on to Michigan. They're at 9.5. And like I mentioned last year, they went 12-2. They finally beat Ohio State. They were in the college football playoff. They did not fare well at all against Georgia, but really no shame there. Georgia was the national champions. Can they repeat that kind of effort this year? Only 4 back from that defense. A lot of guys back on offense, but that key was the defense. Last year, what do you think? 9.5 for Michigan.
Well, I do want to pat myself on the back. If you'll remember last year, all you guys made fun of me because I was the only one that had them in, I think, even ranked in the top 25.
Yep.
I think Harbaugh's a good coach. I do. The fact they lost those studs on defense kind of worries me a little bit. But when I look at the schedule, the Ohio State game at Columbus, they don't fare well there too often. That's one they probably are going to lose. We really have only got 2 more that are kind of questionable. One's at Iowa. Anytime you go to Iowa, you better be ready to play. I think Iowa may be down just a little bit this year, though. So I think they'll get that one, and then they struggle beating Michigan State, and it doesn't matter whether it's in Ann Arbor or East Lansing. Now this year it is in Ann Arbor. When you look at the rest of their schedule, their non-conference schedule, they got Colorado State, Hawaii, and UConn. Those are all in Ann Arbor. They got Maryland at home, Indiana on the road. That game with Penn State, that'll be tough, but that's in Ann Arbor. They go to Rutgers. They got Nebraska at home. They got Illinois at home. That's not a very tough schedule. I don't think they're near as good as they were last year. They might have a controversy at quarterback. They got the up and comer and they got the incumbent who I think's pretty good. They run the ball well. Okay, I'm going too long here. 9.5. I don't think they're as good as they were last year, but I think they'll win 10. So I got them over.
I kind of feel the same way. I have them over. I don't think they're as good, but you hit it. You look at the schedule, they're not going to have to be as good to get to 10 wins. Really, I mean, you mentioned Michigan State. That is kind of the trip-up game. They've lost to them the last 2 years. And last year, like I said, they only lost 2 games. One was to the national champion and one was to Michigan State. But you watch that game, you watch back at what happened. They really should have won it. They absolutely blew that game.
They did.
So I think they're going to get revenge on them. I think Ohio State beats them. Maybe they trip up somewhere else. Maybe they're a 10-2 type team. Maybe they're more of a top 10, 15 than a top 5. But I do think they get over that 9.5. So we're going to agree so far. Now let's go to Michigan State. Last year we talked a hell of a lot about Michigan State on the show. They went 11-2. A fantastic year. They got all the way up to number 5 before Purdue beat them. They also got smoked against Ohio State. They did not finish the season all that strongly. They did win the bowl game over Pittsburgh. 5 back on offense. They do lose Kenneth Walker, the great running back from last year. 9 back on defense. That's good. The quarterback is also back. This number is interesting. It's 8. I think they're right there. What about you?
Well, I tend to agree. I think the first thing we have to look at is how good were they last year? Did they benefit from a very easy schedule? So I got my book out here. At Northwestern. Northwestern was awful last year. They beat them. Youngstown State, that's not even a Division I team. At Miami, that's Miami, Florida.
They were horrible.
They were horrible, the most overrated team every year. They beat Nebraska at home. That's in East Lansing. Took overtime to beat a 4-win team. Western Kentucky. They should beat Western Kentucky. At Rutgers. At Indiana. The Michigan win is impressive. Lost at Purdue. Beat Maryland, another crappy team. Ohio State beat them 56-7. I was impressed when they bounced back and beat Penn State after that shellacking they took. So their schedule's a little weak. I don't know how good they are. I don't know how good a coach Mel Tucker is. I think he's pretty good. They benefited from the transfer portal last year, and that's that. We got to give him credit for that. I think he's a really good recruiter. I don't know whether he's worth the money they're paying him. My God, I don't know if you've seen that salary. I think he's number 2. Next to Saban, maybe. They got a great quarterback. They got talented receivers. They're good against the run on defense, but they gave up some points. 8-4 is where I've got them. I'm not going to go over. I'm just going to have to go under, I think.
It's another one. That's just said. I think it's right on the line. I think 8-4 makes a lot of sense. They have a lot of toss-up games. That's the big thing about this team.
Absolutely.
It's really going to depend on that defense. I don't think they'll be quite as good offensively. It wasn't a great defense last year. I'm going to go under as well. So we're 3 out of 3 as far as agreeing. I'm going under. But again, I have them right there at that 8-4 mark. I don't have it wrote down, but the plus money is on the under. So if you do have this team at 8-4 and you're getting plus money on the under, you go ahead and do that. If it was plus money on the over, you would go ahead and do that. That's kind of what you should do.
They have I failed to mention this. They have a very key non-conference game at Washington, and that might kill us if they win that game. You
don't really know how Washington's going to be.
Right.
Either. They got a new coach, and they're kind of getting some hype. We'll talk about them, I guess, in a second, and we'll see what we think of them. But they're kind of one of those teams. It's just kind of 50-50 how it's going to shake out for them. So
Right.
I agree, it's going to be tough to kind of gauge how Michigan State's going to do. And like you said, if they win that game, they're probably well on their way to going over. So.
Right.
Not easy to go out there to Washington and win, though. All right, let's move on to Penn State.
All right.
A team last year I thought was a little bit of a disappointment. At one time, they were ranked number 4 in the country. They end up 7-6. They really faltered late in the season. As a matter of fact, they only won like 2 out of their last 7, I believe it was. And then they did get beat by Arkansas in the bowl game. Sean Clifford back at quarterback. I think he's tough. I don't think he's great, but I do think you can win with him for sure. Only 4 guys back on the defense. So a little bit inexperienced here for the Nittany Lions. 8.5. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the whole key is Sean Clifford. How good is he? I think he's good enough to win you 8, maybe 9. I don't think you can go much higher than that with him unless he's got some studs all the way around him, which he doesn't. So I'm with you a lot on what you said. He's serviceable. He's not bad. A lot of teams would take him and win games with him, but he's got to have some help. Their defense is pretty good, except at the most important position, linebacker.
Yeah.
Got to have linebackers. They are short on those. They got to find somebody. Running game's okay. Receivers are okay. The offensive line's got to improve. It was shaky last time. A lot of sacks. Tough schedule. Man, their schedule is tough. Non-conference, Ohio, Villanova, no sweat. Got to go to Auburn. Okay, that's tricky. Auburn's not as good. They should win that game. That's one they got to win. If they win that, I think we can look at that being a kind of a barometer of how they're going to be. I don't think they're going to win Ohio State. The game at Purdue's not bad. That's going to be a tricky one for them. They go to Iowa. Iowa and Penn State are always classics.
Yeah.
They got Michigan at home, and they got to go to Michigan State. That's a tough schedule. That's 6 games they could lose, all of them. So 8.5. I got them at 8. I'm going under.
Well, we'll disagree for the first time here, but it's not by much. I have them at 9-3. I really think, that last game against Michigan State might determine whether they go over, and also might determine if Michigan State goes over. So I have Penn State winning that game, and that's the difference for me. I both had them 8-3 going into that, and then I have Penn State beating them there. But listen, it's the last game of the year. There's a ton of shit that can happen between August 2nd and November 26th. But at this time, I will take Penn State and the over. It's not by a strong margin. This is probably one of my least favorite ones that we're going to do is Penn State, because I tend to overrate them. I will be honest. I tend to overrate them.
I think we all do.
I think that name recognition gets you, and I just think well, they can jump up and have an 11-win season. We've seen it from them. I like their quarterback, Sean Clifford. I don't love him, but I like him. I think he'll be gutty enough. I think, last year for him, I think they go out with 9. So 9-3, I'm going over for them. All right, Maryland Terrapins are next. Tua's little brother back at quarterback. They have 9 offensive players back, 7 back on defense, 7-6 a year ago. If you watched the show last year, I was able to hit with this team a couple times, but they weren't very good last year, really. Once the first 4 games got over with, they really struggled. I don't know what this team's all about. They did pick up a nice bowl win. 6 wins for Maryland, over under for you on this one.
Oh, this is a tough one. I think they're a little better than I usually rate them. The quarterback's okay. Here's a key game for them. They got a non-conference game with SMU.
Yeah.
If they win that game, their other 2 non-conference games, Buffalo, Charlotte, surely to God they're going to win those. So there's 3 right there. That's the key game for them. If they can get that game, and SMU is pretty good. They're going through a coaching change. That's a game that Maryland's got to win. That game is in College Park, so that's a big one. Here's 3 more I think they can win. Got to go to Indiana and beat them. They got to beat Northwestern, and they got to beat Rutgers. Both of those games are at College Park. If you get those, that's 5 right there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to win at Michigan. They're not going to win at Wisconsin. They're not going to win at Penn State, and they're not going to beat Ohio State. So that leaves 2 to decide between Michigan State and Purdue. Those are tough. And SMU. So those games are going to decide their season. I've got them at 6. I just can't go over that. So I'm going to have to go under.
Yeah, it's really debatable for me. They did win 6 last year. I think they're going to be a little bit better.
I do too.
I had them at 6-6 as well.
Yep. It's going to take a break to win 7. If I knew they had that SMU game won, I'd go over, but I don't know that.
I just think they're more likely to go 5-7 than 7-5. So I'm gonna go under. Yeah, I watched this team a lot last year, and they weren't very good. They really weren't. They're kind of a team that fooled you early in the year. It's like, yeah, they're pretty decent. They did win 4 in a row.
Yep.
They really weren't very good. So I'm gonna go under that number.
Any team that has a defense as poor as theirs, it's questionable,
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. Indiana's next. They were the COVID darlings. Everybody loved Indiana. They went 6-2. Last year, total disaster. They went 2-10. Just horrible. Not good whatsoever. Quarterback has transferred out. Penix is no longer there. They get the kid from Missouri coming in who, I don't know, he's not horrible. 7 back from the defense. The win total is very low, 4.5. What do you think about the Hoosiers this year?
I'd say this is the most disappointing team from last year.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have them top 10, which was absolutely ridiculously stupid when you looked at the COVID. You could take that COVID year in consideration, and their schedule that they didn't play anybody that year. So they got, and to their credit, they won 7 out of 9. They weren't any good. And they're not any good this year. So can they forget last year? See, that's the real problem. Here they were supposed to be pretty good. They go 2-10. They did well in the transfer portal. They got some guys that came in from the crossover side, the other division of the Big Ten. They don't have to play Wisconsin or Iowa, so that's a break. They get Nebraska, Illinois, and Purdue from that side. So that's a break for them. I just don't see very many wins. I got them at 4, so I'm going under.
I went under. I think they're going to go like 4-8, 3-9. I did not like them last year either. I don't like them this year. So I'm going under that number. Not a big fan of the Hoosiers this year. All right, let's go to Rutgers. Greg Schiano starting to get things turned around. 3-6 in the COVID year, 5-8 last year. They got to go to a bowl because of their academics. So they were 5-7, but they let a team in because they needed a team, and so Rutgers were right there to get it. Listen, they played some teams close. They also got blown out in some other games. They definitely improved. We've got 3.5 here. It's not much. They've got 6 guys back on both sides of the ball, plus the quarterback. What do you think of Rutgers?
Not much. Again, they got 2 wins, maybe. Wagner, they're going to beat them. Can they go to Temple and win? I mean, they should, but I've got it as a win, but I wouldn't bet a nickel on it.
Yeah.
They got to go to Boston College. I don't think they go to Boston. I don't think they win that game. And then you look at the others. Are they going to beat Iowa? I don't think so. At Ohio State? No way. I don't think they beat Nebraska. They got to go to Minnesota. They got Michigan, at Michigan State, Penn State. Okay. They got Indiana. Okay, I could see them winning that one. At Rutgers. And you got at Maryland. 3.5. I only see 3. I got to go under. And I think they got a great coach. I think he does a good job.
I think Schiano is good for 4 wins. I'm not going under on this one.
All right.
Going over. I think they're going to be better, and I just think they're going to win those games. They go to Boston College to start the season. I don't think that's an automatic loss. They got Wagner, like I said, a game at Temple. It's another one. I don't care that they beat them 61-14. It's a toss-up. It's a new year. A team like Rutgers goes on the road. You never know. They could lose to anybody. Yeah. But I do think they can win that game for sure. Then you're talking about getting 2 Big Ten wins. I think they can. Indiana's there, and I think they upset somebody. So I'm going to go 4, maybe even 5 for Rutgers. I'm going over. The key is going to be the start. And I just think I have faith in Shiano. Listen, last year I don't think anybody thought they were going to win 5, and they did.
That's
so
true.
I think he's a good enough coach that he'll have them good enough and competitive enough to win 4. So
You talk about.
over.
Go ahead.
No, I said I'm going over.
You talk about a school that doesn't belong in the conference that they're in.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's just not a good fit, but there's really no good fit for them.
No.
They're stuck up in New Jersey. There's, that part of the country, not really football oriented. And so ACC maybe would be a better fit for them. Just tough fit for Rutgers.
It really is. And when Shiano was there, they were in a different conference.
Yeah.
A much different schedule than what they do now.
In the Big East. When the Big East football conference,
exactly, and they, when they in their quote unquote heyday of Rutgers football, they had a much easier schedule. So we'll see. Like I said, I don't have huge expectations, but I do think they'll be better than what people think. I think he's a pretty darn good coach. All right, let's move on to the Fighting Illini. Brett Bielema's second year at Illinois. Last year was an improvement. They went 5-7. They had a shot to make a bowl. Kind of lost some tough ones, including a game to Rutgers.
Yeah,
that's one Rutgers was able to win last year that nobody probably thought they were going to, especially as the Fighting Illini was coming off a win against Penn State. Rutgers went in there and beat them. If not, they would have made a bowl. They could have beat UTSA. They would have made a bowl. So they had a chance to go 6-6, 7-5. This year, they've got a lot of guys back. They get transfer Tommy DeVito in from Syracuse to be the quarterback. At least for now, he's listed as. We'll see. I don't think he's great. What do you think here? They're listed at 4.5.
Well, I'm going to make our Arkansas people mad because they don't like Bielema, but I do. I think he's a good coach, and he's a Big Ten coach. He didn't fit in the SEC, but his style of football fits more in the Big Ten. They won 5 last year. We're competitive. Yeah. They did a hell of a job. Tommy DeVito from Syracuse, come on.
He's awful.
You don't have anybody any better than that. You're hurting.
Yeah.
And there's your problem. They don't have any offense. Their offense is just not very good. And they lost 2 very good offensive linemen that went to the pros. So I like Bielema. Illinois is one of these places that you would think you could win. But it's been a while since they've done much, and they've had some decent coaches in there over the years. Non-conference schedule, Wyoming, big game. That's in Champaign. They got to win that. They got Tennessee, Chattanooga. They'll win that one. Then they got Virginia, and Virginia's pretty good. So there's 2 iffy non-conference games. They should have scheduled 3 weak teams. I mean, that's how you turn it around at these schools. You get 3 non-conference wins. Of course, the schedule was probably already made before Bielema got there. What are they at? What's their number?
They're 4.5.
Under for me.
I think they're going to go 4-8. I went under as well. I just couldn't get there with them.
No.
I don't know. Was it a situation where the recruiting was decent and the coaching wasn't great, and then he got there and he could coach them up? Because it's kind of what happened at Arkansas. He couldn't really recruit. The players weren't there. I don't think he's a bad coach, but
he's a good coach.
The players.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in him. They're a weird team for me. I'm going under that 4.5 total. All right, let's go to your favorite team, the Iowa Hawkeyes, most boring team in football. Last year, I mean, they sacrificed a live chicken or something to get to 10 wins. I mean, this was the luckiest team I've ever seen. Every week it'd be like, yeah, they won like 6-3, and the last field goal hit 3 goalposts and the crossbar and went in somehow. I mean, it was just crazy voodoo that Iowa had done. But they got the 10 wins, and then this year they've got everybody back. Well, not everybody, but 7 on offense, 7 on defense back. And they got old Spencer Petras, who is probably the worst Division I quarterback to ever win 10 games, maybe ever. All that said, their win total's at 7.5. They're an 8-4, 7-5 team almost every year. What do you think about the Hawkeyes?
Well, you hit that nail on the head perfectly on everything. I cannot even be. I have nothing else really to say to that. You hit it all.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's a better coach in the country than this guy. Now, he's got a rabbit's foot, that's for sure, in his pocket. But the guy, okay, let's stop and think about this for a minute. How do you recruit at Iowa?
I don't know.
And I'm not knocking Iowa at all. I've been there, and I've been to Des Moines. I think Des Moines is a great place. They don't have anywhere to recruit.
No, they have no base.
There's no base. I mean, and he gets these guys. You look at Iowa from the first year he was there till now, you cannot tell the difference between any team he has.
No.
Every one of them is exactly the same.
Yep.
Big, strong linemen on both sides of the ball, a defense that's just fundamentally so sound.
Yep.
And they win games they shouldn't, and every once in a while they lose games they shouldn't. You say luck, yes. But I'd rather be lucky than good any day. But last year they won the turnover battle. That's where it was unbelievable. Yeah. You're right. They have a terrible quarterback. There's no doubt the worst quarterback to ever win 10 games.
He's awful.
He is awful. I think he threw for like 120 yards a game, which is just god awful in high school anymore, let alone. But 7.5. Okay. I think their schedule's tougher this year. I do. It's a much tougher schedule. They've got to go to Ohio State. Forget it. Those are the type teams that Iowa's true talent comes out against, because teams that have great talent just thrash them.
Their true lack of speed. They have no.
Yeah, that's what it is. And Ohio State's got it, and they got people all over the field, and Iowa just can't match up for them. But you put them against a team like Wisconsin.
Oh yeah,
they'll beat their ass. And they got home. Michigan, they can play with Michigan. They can. Where am I here? Oh, at Purdue, that could be tough. Purdue's got a really good quarterback. Minnesota, that's a toss-up game. That's on the road. And the Nebraska game's always tough. So I got them at 7 this year. So I don't think a whole lot of them. So for me to have them at 7, I've got to go under.
Well, that has me a little worried. I have them at 8 and 4. But if you have them at 7, that means they're going to win 3. I wanted to read off. This is Spencer Petros's numbers from last year, and to be fair, he wasn't hurt or anything like that. 1,880 yards, 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And this team went 10 and 4 with that. I mean,
14 games, Aaron. 14 games.
I know.
That's just doing the math real quick. That's 130 yards a game.
It's unbelievable. So I went 8 and 4. So I guess I'll go over. Find a way. They will find a way.
They will. Yeah, I made a dumb pick there, but I'm not putting them in the top 25 this year like I always do. I can't do it this year.
Yeah, well, that's sad. I think we're going to cancel the top 25 this year if you can't put Iowa in it. So, all right, let's move on from the Hawkeyes. Get ready for a lot of 13-10 type games in Iowa again this year. Let's go to Minnesota. The Golden Gophers, a pretty good year last year, went 9 and 4. They got 6 guys back on both sides of the ball, including the quarterback Tanner Morgan. And I like Tanner Morgan. I thought he was pretty decent last season for Minnesota, especially late in the year, not so much early. Look, they're at 7.5. It seems like they're a team when you think they're going to be good, they're not. And when you think they're going to fall a little bit, they come out and have a good season. What do you think of them this year?
Well, they're another 6, 6, 7, 5, 8, 4 every year.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And their secret is non-conference schedule. And look at it this year. New Mexico State, Western Illinois, Colorado.
Yeah.
There's 3 wins. I mean, Colorado maybe could give them an upset. I don't think so. They're all at in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so there's 3 right there. I kind of like this team. I think their coach is kind of hokey, and I don't like some of the stuff he does, but I think he's a great coach. I do. He recruits well. He's had them at a pretty good level since he's been there, and they're pretty competitive. They play on the weaker side of the Big Ten, and they take advantage of that. They hired a new offensive coordinator that they're really high on. They think that he can really improve Tanner Morgan. And I think Tanner Morgan's pretty good. I think they're really good fundamentally. And so I like them. 4 tough Big Ten road games will decide what they do. At Michigan State, at Penn State, at Wisconsin, and the other one, you're going to laugh at me, is at Nebraska. So those are 4 really tough games. I say the Nebraska game for a team like Minnesota, that's a tough road game. That's a tough game for them. They also have Iowa and Purdue at home. So those are question marks too. So there's 6 games that will decide their season. I'm going to go 8-4 on Minnesota. I like them better than most people, so I'm going to go over.
I'm going over on them too. It's a team that's hard to get right, though. Like I said, you go into it knowing that, but 3 games they should win in the non-conference, and that's a key. That's a huge key. But last year they lost to Bowling Green in the non-conference, so
absolutely.
You kind of mentioned a team like Minnesota. That's the kind of games they lose sometimes that could really, upset you if you bet this over 7.5. But I'm going to have faith in them. I kind of like them offensively. I think they'll be pretty decent.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've said this a million times, Aaron, and it's so true. When you're well coached and you don't have a ton of talent, you beat people you shouldn't beat, but you lose one somewhere along the line that you should have won because you're not very good. Let me see. Bowling Green did beat them 14-10, and it seemed to me, Illinois at Minneapolis beat them 14-6.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 losses right there. And had they won those 2 games, they won 10 or 11 games last year.
Yeah.
And those are 2 games that just, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what happens when you're a little bit deficient on talent. You lose some games you shouldn't, but there's no excuse for losing those.
No, there's not. But I do agree that that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable sometimes for teams like that. So,
yeah.
All right, let's move on. The Nebraska Cornhuskers, how overrated will they be again this season? Let's see. They have not had a winning season since 2016. Let me repeat that. Nebraska has not had a winning season since 2016. Last year, they won 3 games. That's right. Nebraska won 3 games in Scott Frost's 4th year at Nebraska. They went 3-9. A lot of people think they're going to be good again, including, I think, the guy sitting next to me. No. Vegas obviously thinks they're going to be pretty good. 7.5 wins for a team that hasn't had a winning season since 2016. 7 are back on offense. They do have a transfer quarterback, Casey Thompson from Texas, is coming into Nebraska. I don't know. I think he looked decent at times last year for the Longhorns. 5 back on defense. Defense that wasn't too bad last year. Nebraska at 7.5. What do you think?
Okay. I don't think they're going to be great. Okay. I think they're going to be a little above average, which would be a tremendous improvement for them. They lost 8 games by 8 points or less.
Yeah.
Now that means they were there. That means they found a way to lose. And I watched them a lot last year, and they had games won, and they lost them every which way they could. Very frustrating. They lost 3 by 5 or less. So you turn a few of those around, and you go from 3-9. You don't have to win a whole lot more to be 6-6, 7-5. Now, is Casey Thompson better than what they had? That's debatable because what they had wasn't very good. I thought Casey Thompson wasn't bad at Texas. He shredded our wonderful, tremendous defense. By the way, if Joey's still around, is going to USC.
Right.
Alex Grinch. He looked like the best quarterback I ever saw for a long time in that game.
Yeah.
But Texas must not have liked him. And he must have saw the writing on the wall because he got out of there. Why would you get out of there if you're the starting quarterback if they had confidence? Does that make any sense?
Well, they brought in better players.
Well, that means he didn't think.
That's why he left.
That's the point I'm trying to make. You hit it right there. So I'm glad you answered that the way you did. the thing with Nebraska is they've got to get over the hump. They got to get that swagger back. They got to
You
become
think?
huh?
Do you think so?
Yeah, they do. And I don't know if they can do that. I don't know if they have good enough players. What was it? 7.5? I don't see any way why they're 7.5. That made it easy for me. I thought they'd be 6. 6. I think that's when you look at their schedule. I mean, it's not that hard. That's the thing. Look at their schedule. Here's a key game. They opened the season at Northwestern. Remember last year they opened the season in Illinois and got drubbed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if they're any good, they win that game, right?
I seriously doubt they win that game.
That's not what I said. If they're any good, they win that game, right?
Yeah, you have to.
I know, Steve Areno. I know this ain't the 80s. I got you. Good to see you, buddy. North Dakota, won't they win that? No, I didn't say North Dakota State. I said North Dakota. Won't they win that?
They should.
Okay.
They should beat North Dakota, yes.
Georgia Southern, don't they win that?
I would think.
Okay. Indiana at Lincoln.
I think they will win that, yes.
All right. Illinois at Lincoln.
I should win that one, yes.
And there's 4. Okay.
Okay.
The Impies here we have at Northwestern, at Rutgers. Okay, let's say they split.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, that's 5. All right. At Michigan, no. Wisconsin in Lincoln. Could they win that?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Oklahoma, we're going to say no.
I mean, if they do, it's a massive disappointment.
We're not any good if they do. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
At Purdue, maybe.
I don't think so.
Okay. Minnesota comes in there. I think Minnesota beats them.
I do too.
And then Iowa, which that's a game, who knows? Those games are close. Those Iowa-Nebraska games are close. So it's not a stretch to see them win 7 with that schedule. But I'm going under.
but even if they win 7, you're going under.
Yes.
That's the thing. And that's the thing I can't figure out. Why every year do people think they're going to be good?
Well, because they're Nebraska and they think Scott Frost is a hell of a coach because he won 13 games in Central Florida one year.
So if you look at you said, well, this Iowa game, they could beat them. They haven't beat them in 5 years.
I know that.
I mean, so
one of these days they're going to beat Iowa. One of these days.
I mean, that is step like 1 of 100. I mean, beating Iowa is not that big of a deal.
Well, let me ask you this. We saw them live and in person last year.
Yeah.
Okay. They almost won.
Yeah.
I know we weren't any good.
Yeah.
But we were supposed to have athletes. We were supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't look, I mean, they looked pretty good athletically. Wouldn't you say?
No.
Oh, you wouldn't. Okay.
No, I thought they were awful.
I thought their defense was pretty good.
I didn't.
Okay.
I thought they were terrible. I thought we were terrible.
Then we must have been god awful.
We were. If you go back and watch any of OU's games, they were awful last year.
They were.
Nebraska, the first game against Illinois was embarrassing how bad they were.
Oh, that's right. I agree with that.
They did play really well at Oklahoma. I agree, but I mean,
They
come
gave
on.
the effort down there.
Yeah, listen, they played hard all year. I'll give them that. They played hard. They should have been better, but I still to go over 7.5 is crazy. Maybe they do it, but that's crazy in my opinion.
I don't know how Scott Frost kept from going insane.
I don't either. Now, the one thing, and I don't forget who said it, and my regular computer, the internet, just crapped out on it, so I'm using my phone for everything here, so I don't know who said it on the comments, and I can't go back and find it. But the Taylor Martinez problem is over.
Yeah.
So here's the thing we're going to find out. Is it a Taylor Martinez problem or is it a Nebraska problem? Nebraska gets Casey Thompson. Taylor Martinez goes to Kansas State. So we'll see who has the more success this year.
True.
That'll be interesting. All right, we are going to go way over time here, and I don't know how long this one's going to hold off. So let's go to the next one.
Okay, let's get going.
A team that's going to beat Nebraska opening weekend, and that is Northwestern. Listen, I'm going to just go ahead and spoil it. I think Pat Fitzgerald is a great coach. He's a great coach. They usually don't have 2 bad seasons in a row under him.
Yep.
I'm going over this 3.5 number for Northwestern. I don't think they're going to be great, but they are experienced.
Yeah.
They got a pretty good quarterback. I think they'll be better this year. I'm going over 3.5.
Pat Fitzgerald, fantastic coach. Some people just fit in at a place. I'm sure he's had job offers to other places. He's from Northwestern. He went to school there. I'm with you. It ain't going to take much for them to go over 3.5. I'm going over 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go over this. 3.5 is just too low.
Yeah.
And I think they'll find a way. All right. You mentioned Purdue a little bit earlier. They are at 7.5. You mentioned their quarterback. They've got a good one here at quarterback. They've also got 7 guys back from a defense, 7 guys back from offense. The team went 9-4 a year ago. Aiden O'Connell, can he have another big year? Can they get over 7.5?
I like this team quite a bit. Their non-conference schedule: Indiana State, at that great Syracuse, and Florida Atlantic. They should win all 3 of those games. Then they got Maryland, Illinois, Northwestern on the schedule, and Indiana. Okay, a couple of those are on the road. Let's say they lose one. That's 6 wins right there.
Yeah.
Got to get one more. That's where it gets a little harder. They got Wisconsin, Penn State, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Iowa. So,
I mean, Nebraska, they have Nebraska at home. That should not be a hard game for them.
That's true. I know. So, and Iowa too. So 7.5. I'm going over. I got them at 8.
Yeah, I've got them over as well. I think they're gonna be pretty good. This is a wide open side of this thing.
It is.
It's not unforeseen that they could make a run at winning the division.
Oh, there's no doubt.
I don't think they will because they're Purdue, but
yeah.
I do think it's going to be interesting to see if they can get over that 7.5. All right, the favorite in this division.
Real quick, give Wisconsin their quarterback, and with this schedule that they're playing, you'd have Wisconsin winning 10 easy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would. Remember when Wisconsin had Russell Wilson, they were really good.
That's right.
So
that's
how that goes.
Yeah.
Let's go to Wisconsin. They'll be the favorites to win this side of it. Last year they went 9-4. They started off awful. They got a lot better. Ended up winning their bowl game. They don't have a lot back on defense. Only 3 starters back on defense. 5 return on offense. Graham Mertz going to be the quarterback as of now, at least. I don't know what to think about Wisconsin. What do you think about them?
Well, they're always going to win games. So that's just what they do. Not flashy. The key is the quarterback. How good is he? He's up and down. I don't think he's great when he's up. I don't think he's great. So they lost 8 starters on defense. That worries me, but they usually can replace those guys. Physical, ball control team. We all know what Wisconsin is. They're not going to change. Very well coached. What is it? 9? 10.
Yep.
Come on, I got them at 9. Oh man, I don't think they win 10, so I'm going to have to go under. I think they're going to win 9 though.
I could see this pushing for sure. I'm going under as well. I've got them at 9-3.
I don't think they're enough to win 10. I just don't.
I don't think they are either. Yeah, I'm going to go with the under on that one as well. All right, let's move on to the Pac-12. I do have these in alphabetical order. So
good.
That's good news here. So we'll start off with a really sharp and really good team. One of the best teams of all time. Arizona, who's absolutely awful. They have been awful for a while now. The COVID year, they went 0-5. They improved. They won 1 last year. They went 1-11. They do have a lot of guys back, but when you went 1-11, that doesn't really matter all that much. They get a transfer in from Washington State at quarterback. He's not awful, Jaden DeLaura. Right, it's 2.5. I don't know. I mean, you even look at the non-conference, like at San Diego State. Yeah, that's not going to be. Not going to happen.
No.
Mississippi State, I don't think they're going to beat them.
No.
North Dakota State, I don't think they'll beat them. So then you get in a conference play. I'm going under the 2.5. What about you?
I think this is one of the worst coaching jobs in the country.
I do too.
This is just, again, where's their recruiting base? they got to go to California. Well, every damn school in the country goes to California.
Yeah.
Or they got to go to Texas because they ain't getting anybody out of Arizona.
No.
They're not getting players out of Arizona because the really good players, if they're already in Arizona, they're probably going to choose Arizona State over Arizona. And they've had some winning seasons there, and whoever's been there did a heck of a job. You're bad when you play a Division I AA or whatever they call them now, FCS school, and you might be the underdog.
I don't see any way they're favored in that game.
The only game I see they could win is Colorado. They have them at home. So I'm under 2.5. And that's, man, you're bad. They'll be in the bottom 10 to start the season for me.
Yeah, I just don't think they're good at all. All right, let's move on. Arizona State. I think this is going to be an absolute disaster this year for Arizona State. I really do. They lost almost all their players.
Yeah.
They get Emory Jones in at quarterback from Florida. He was awful at Florida.
Yeah. Oh, God.
5.5. I'm way under this 5.5. I don't think Herm Edwards is a very good coach either. So I'm going under the 5.5. What about you with the Sun Devils?
No doubt. They got a couple wins in the non-conference. They might beat Arizona.
Yeah, sure, they're going to beat Arizona. Yeah,
that's 3. Let's see where I can find another one. They got to go to Colorado, maybe. That's about it. The other non-conference games, Oklahoma State. Even though it's at home, I don't think they beat them. I think Herm Edwards is a joke. I've always thought he was a joke. He's kind of funny. He says some funny stuff. They had all the tools last year. Here's the other thing. The quarterback they had got the hell out of there. That tells you a lot. They got recruiting problems. They may get put on probation. Way under for me, too.
I think it's going to be a disaster. Maybe that's a game Arizona can win. It is at Arizona. It is the last game of the year. We'll see. I think they're going to be horrible. I really do. All right, let's move on. The Cal Bears are next. The big bad Bears. They went 5-7 a year ago. They're a team that kind of lives on that 5-7 type of mark. They did have a couple winning seasons under Wilcox in 18 and 19. They don't have hardly anybody back either. They've lost a lot of guys. I don't know. I think they're at 5.5 here. What do you think of them?
Well, they do have a little bit of momentum. They finished the year 4-2 in their last 6 games last year. A lot of people don't realize that, including me. But when I went through their schedule, I noticed that. They don't have a proven quarterback. And anytime you come into a season without one, you're in trouble. They got Notre Dame on the schedule. That was wonderful scheduling. 5.5 to make this go quicker since your phone's going out. I'm going under.
Yeah, I'm going under as well. I don't think they quite get there. I think that's an ambitious number. If it was 4.5, maybe I'd think about it. I don't think they get to 6. So, no. All right, Colorado, another team this Pac-12, by the way, it's really, really good.
It's loaded, isn't it?
Loaded. My goodness. Look at this Colorado team. Their projected over-under is 3.5. They were 4-8 a year ago, third year under Dorrell here. They've got 7 back on offense, 5 on defense. You have the quarterback back. You know, at times last year they weren't awful. At times they were beyond awful. 3.5. What do you think?
Non-conference schedule at Minnesota, loss. TCU, I don't think they beat them. They might.
They shouldn't.
No. At Air Force.
They shouldn't.
They could go 0-3. They go 0-3 in the non-conference. I don't have a game they can win unless they beat Arizona.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they could beat Arizona. They could beat Cal. They could beat Arizona State.
They could.
Yeah.
3.5. I got them at 3, so under.
I think you're right. I'm going under as well. I'm not a big fan of Colorado. All right, I am a big fan of Oregon this year. I think they're going to be pretty good. Dan Lanning comes in from Georgia. He will take over as the head coach here at Oregon. The team that went 10-4 last year, it had a Utah problem, right? That was the biggest problem. They lost twice to Utah. If they could have beat them, they would have been Pac-12 champions. They would have been in a big-time bowl game. Instead, they lost to them twice. 8 back on offense, 7 on defense. Bo Nix from Auburn transfers up to Oregon. Bo Nix at times looked good at Auburn. At times he didn't. I think a fresh start's going to help him. What do you think of Oregon? Can they get over this 8.5?
Okay. Bo Nix, SEC. Bo Nix, Pac-12. I think there's a huge difference.
I do too.
I think he'll be just fine. I like a lot of them. I think they have a coaching upgrade.
I do
I
too.
don't like Cristobal. I think that guy is the most overrated coach. He's a good recruiter. What's he ever done? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's that good a coach. We don't know about Dan Lanning yet, but from everybody that knows anything, he's an up and comer. I think OU looked at him, and Castiglione, our AD, doesn't make very many mistakes. So I think they got an upgrade. They don't play USC, and they have Utah at home, and that's the only schools in that. Well, UCLA's decent. I don't see much. I think that Oregon State game might be their toughest. And of course, the Georgia game that they opened the season with, I don't think they beat them. I got them 11-1. I'm going over.
Damn. Wow. I don't have them 11-1, but I got them over 8.5. And you said it, and Kevin B says it too, and I think you both are right. A mediocre SEC quarterback, top 3 in the Pac-12, and I agree. He's definitely up there in the top 3 or 4. He's an experienced guy. Lanning knows a lot about him. I think he'll be just fine there at Oregon. I think they'll be decent. I don't think they're going to be national championship or playoff contender even, but I do think they're going to be pretty darn good. I'm with you on the coaching upgrade. He probably is an upgrade. So We'll see. All right, Oregon State's next. They went 7-6 last year. They're a team that at times jumps up and is decent. A lot of times they're not. They have a ton of guys back, including the quarterback. They've got them at 5.5. That number is pretty close, I think. What do you think of the Beavers this year?
I like them. I'm a little worried about their non-conference schedule. They got a couple of toughies. I don't think they beat Boise State. And the game at Fresno State, if they can win one of those two, and then they've got Montana State, you go 2-1. That's a big step for them in a weak league. Mm-hmm. So they got Washington State at home. That's a win, should be. Colorado at home, California at home, and they go to Arizona State. So they got potential. I liked what they did last year. They got a lot back on defense. Their quarterback's got to step up and play a little bit better. I like them. I think they go over 5.5.
I do too. I've got them at 6-6, and I think the key is going to be, can you split those first 2 games with Boise State and Fresno, and can you go to Arizona State and win? And what about like a game at Stanford? That's going to be a toss-up, right? So those are going to decide it. I like this team a little bit. I think I like their experience. I think they'll go 6-6. I'm going over 5.5. Speaking of Stanford, they're next on the list. Horrible year last year, just atrocious. They went 3-9. This is usually a team that's pretty solid. David Shaw, well, I don't think he's as good as what he's advertised. He's still a solid coach. You can't argue that. They have a ton of guys back on both sides of the ball. I think they're going to be better than this 4.5 line. The schedule is, it's not horrible, but they do have Notre Dame out of the non-conference and BYU, but at least it's at home. A lot of talking for me. I'm going to go over that 4.5. What about you?
Yeah. Are they on a downward spiral? They've been good in a while. And he was the greatest coach ever was there for a while. And I think he's a good coach too. It's hard to recruit at Stanford. I think their entrance levels are a little bit higher than most places. So it's tough.
Yeah.
They're always pretty decent fundamentally. 4.5 is not very many. I don't think it's a gamble to go over that with a Stanford team. So I'm going to go over as well.
I think a critical game for them, and some people listening may laugh or may think I'm taking a shot at USC, but that second game of the year against USC, I think is really interesting because if USC hasn't quite, they got a lot of new guys, maybe they haven't quite got things ironed out. That could be a little bit of a trap game against a team that has a ton of guys back and a ton of experience. So that'll be an interesting game. I think that could go a long ways towards getting them over this, but I'm going to go over it as well. I think 4.5 is a little too low for a team and for a coach that's proven that they can be more successful than that. So, all right, let's move on. UCLA is next. Chip Kelly finally has kind of got them in the right direction. 3 losing seasons, but last year they did go 8-4. They lost to Fresno State. in a game they could have won. They lost to Oregon in a game they could have won. So it was almost better than that 8-4 even. But they have just 2 guys back on defense. They do have DTR back at quarterback, and I think the offense will be good with 6 returners. What do you think? 8 wins for UCLA. Can they get there again?
Well, you like Chip Kelly a lot, and I do too. I don't think he's great, but I think he's got him in the right direction. Their non-conference schedule, a real plus for them. Bowling Green, Alabama State, and let's stay in the state of Alabama, but let's not play Alabama or Auburn. Let's play South Alabama. So
Correct.
great scheduling. That's how you schedule eight wins. That's how you do it. And you take chances in the conference. Then they got 3 home games in the conference with Washington. Key game right there. Can they beat them? Stanford, Arizona. Let's say they get all 3 of those at home. You would think they would at least get 2 of them, but we're going to give them 3. So there's 6. They're not going to win at Oregon, I don't think.
No.
And they go to Colorado and win? Yes, they should. That's 7. Utah, that's iffy. At Arizona State, yes, there's 8. And then it comes down to USC and the rival game against California. I love the quarterback, and they got a great running back. So I think offensively they're going to be okay. You said they lost. They only got 2 guys coming back on defense.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a good thing because their defense wasn't any good to begin with. So I'm going to take a flyer on them, and I'm going to go over 8. I think they win 9.
I think they're going over too. I think this will be a pretty good team for him. They lose the quarterback after this, and who knows what's going to happen next year. But this year, I think this should be a pretty good team. I'm with you. The defense wasn't great anyway, so maybe they've got some better personnel in there. Maybe a little less experience, but that by the end of the season, they'll be rounded into shape. I'm with you. I went over.
By the way, do you think Chip Kelly is sick of hearing about Lincoln Riley by now?
I would say Chip Kelly is very sick about hearing about Lincoln Riley. Yes,
I
would say that has the potential to be a really, really good rivalry if Chip Kelly can kind of keep UCLA going on the right path. They really could be battling for a while here. So I think that's going to be very interesting. All right, let's take a look now at Lincoln Riley and USC. Vegas has got them at 9.5. Let's look at the facts. They were 4-8 a year ago. So not a good team for USC, but this is a completely different club here. They won the transfer portal for sure. They got Caleb Williams at quarterback, Jordan Addison, a first-team All-American wide receiver from Pitt is there. Mario Williams, very highly touted guy last year at Oklahoma is there. They got a lot of guys on offense. This offense looks good. Defensively, a lot of question marks. Only 3 returning starters from the team last year. A lot of question marks in my opinion. The defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch, who's not great. I think we've seen that firsthand. I think everybody's assuming the offense is going to be good, and I think that assumption is going to be right. I don't know about the defense. 9.5 games is a lot from a team that only won 4 last year. What are your thoughts on that line?
Totally agree. It's hard to jump from 4 to, if you're going to go over, to 10. That's a bunch. That's 6. A difference of 6 games. The plus is they did well in the transfer portal. Don't forget they got the running back from Oregon too.
Yeah, I didn't read him off. You're right. Travis Dye from Oregon. Yeah,
he's a pretty good player.
He's very good.
And they got the Pac-12 schedule. You win games in the trenches. There's an overall lack of talent on the offensive line and the defensive line. They don't have a defensive coordinator. The guy's a clown.
Yeah.
I thought he was the real deal, but he's not. You ask anybody that played for him at OU, and they'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's not an upgrade on defense, and you're kind of leaky on defense anyway. But look at the schedule. Okay, let's just go through it real quick. Rice. Okay, forget it. Fresno State. That's a tough game, but it's in the Coliseum. So you think they'd win that. Then they got Arizona State, Washington State, at Arizona, California, Colorado. How good do you have to be to win those 5 games?
Right, yeah.
You don't have to be very good. So let's see. There's 7 right there. Here's your toss-ups. At Stanford, like you said. Here's one I think they can lose. At Oregon State.
Yeah.
Oregon State's good. Going to go up there. It probably might. It may be raining. It'll be a night game. If Oregon State's good, they'll pack the place. That's a Lincoln Riley choke job right there.
Yeah.
The UCLA game, toss up. Notre Dame, we don't know how good they're going to be. I don't think they go to Utah and win. Those are the kind of games Lincoln Riley teams don't win because you got to be tough to go to Utah. His teams are. I don't think they win 10. I got them at 9, so I'm going under.
Yeah, I've got them at 9-3 as well. I think they will lose to Stanford or Oregon State 1. One of those two, I think they're going to lose. Probably Oregon State. The game at Utah, I don't think they win, and then I think they lose either UCLA or Notre Dame. So I've got them 9-3. I'm with you. You know, I think that I'm honest to God, and you're going to throw up when I say this. I'm looking forward to watching this offense. I think it's going to be really good. I still like Caleb Williams. I think, you know, the OU fans that are hating on him, I think there's a lot of factors in play that aren't really Caleb Williams' decisions. He's got a whole team around him trying to do and make the most money he can, and he went for it. So whatever. I think
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think this offense is going to be dynamic. Defense is going to be bad for sure. I don't know. I think 9-3 is a logical first step for them. And look, if he goes 9-3, he's had a great season. They went 1-8 a year ago, for God's sakes.
There is no doubt he's going to win there.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind he's going to win there.
The one pause that I will give everybody is the further we got away from Stoops and the more we got into Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma definitely got worse each season. Yes. There's no taking over for Bob Stoops here, all right? Like, he inherited a national championship team, the team that made the playoff. And the only Oklahoma team that's made the playoff that actually deserved to be there and could have won it.
Absolutely.
And they went down ever since then.
Yes.
He inherits a 4-8 football team here. Now, obviously, transfer portal, things have definitely changed. Oh, very, very good recruiter. People want to play for him.
Outstanding.
So that's the positives, but we'll see what happens. I think people are thinking he's going to go 12-0 in year 2. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, there's one other thing that people overlook. You get the talent. Okay, he's going to get the talent.
No doubt.
You have to develop players. I don't care how good you are, you're high school players when you come into college. Yes, you're a superstar. But there's a hell of a lot of difference between high school and going to Notre Dame, going to Alabama, and going to those places and winning. You have to develop them. You have to condition them. They have to get stronger. They have to get better. Because guess what? Every other team's got players just like that too.
Right.
That's where Lincoln Riley is weak. Player development. The Oklahoma superstars never developed.
That's going to be the big key, you know, because they definitely, I mean, you look down the roster, Caleb Williams, number 1 quarterback coming out of high school. You know, Travis Dye, tons of experience at Oregon. Jordan Addison, you know, first-team All-American at Pitt. There's not much developing with those two guys.
No.
Caleb Williams, there's developing. Mario Williams, there's developing. He wasn't great last year.
No.
So can they do it? That's going to be the big question there.
Yeah.
And we know, like I said, defensively, it may not be pretty for a while there for you.
And then we'll go off him a little bit because we're criticizing him too much. Baker Mayfield somewhat developed under him because he was just a sophomore.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah.
Kyler Murray, no. Kyler Murray's a super athlete. I mean, he just and he had nothing to do with Jalen Hurts.
No.
And the development with Spencer Rattler was pathetic. So we'll see.
Yeah, this comment here, not really. I don't think Kyler Murray he's kind of the same guy now that he was in college even. He's just a freak of an athlete, but he just kind of plays. But Baker certainly he developed under Lincoln Riley.
He did.
There's no doubt.
But the thing is, each year, Baker came in right after Stoops. I mean, Lincoln came in right after Stoops with Baker. And as you said, each year that passed with Lincoln Riley, our development got worse.
Yeah.
It got worse. We were soft. So, again, let me make this as clear as I can. Lincoln Riley is going to win at USC. But I don't know the first year you go from 4 to an undefeated season.
No.
And I'll give him all the credit in the world if they do.
Yeah, I mean, I would too. I definitely would too. I don't care that it is the Pac-12. If he goes undefeated.
I will say this. Right, Joey. He has 3 starters in the NFL. He didn't recruit any of them. But anyway, that's another story too. But the one quarterback he recruited, well, 2. He's got one of them. The other one got run out of town. Anyway, I think Lincoln Riley will be a better coach at USC than he was Oklahoma, because I think he was in the shadows of Bob Stoops just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And he was not a failure at Oklahoma.
No.
Not a failure at all. In fact, succeeding a legend is very difficult to do, and he probably did as good a job as anybody ever has.
No doubt.
Because they kept winning, but they got worse every year. But he was not a failure. He wasn't. And here's the deal. If he was our coach this year, we wouldn't be saying some of this stuff. We really wouldn't, because none of this would have been exposed as what perhaps might have been a problem down there last year had he stayed on.
If you go back and watch last year when we're previewing, I definitely did say Lincoln Riley has a problem with discipline, and he has a problem with development, and that was before he left. So I will stick with by that.
Yeah.
So I'm a very unbiased fan, and I think if people watching this will learn that throughout this year.
Well, you have, because you don't project the Sooners very high this year.
No, I had the Sooners under their win total.
I will say that 9.5. I'm not going to, with the schedule they play this year, I won't be totally shocked if they win 10. Will you?
Yeah, I will
You
be.
will? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't. I think the big key is going to be if the defense is surprising, then they could win 10 for sure. But I would be surprised if they're better than 9-3 the first year. Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right, let's move on. Utah 8.5 for the Utes, and this is a team that will be USC's biggest challenger. Kyle Whittingham back once again. I mean, this team just consistently throws out good teams, good, tough, hard-knocking teams. 8 back on offense, 6 on defense, including quarterback Cameron Rising. This team is the Pac-12 champions last season. They nearly beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. They got off to a horrible start and then really turned it on late and looked great once they got the quarterback situation taken care of. I'm going over this 8.5 for Utah. I think that's low. What about you?
What's it? 8.5. Okay. You know what? If they weren't on the West Coast and their games weren't on so late, this might be one of my favorite teams.
Yeah.
Because
I like the way they play.
I do too, and they're tough, raw-boned. They don't have superstars usually, and they're hard to beat, especially in Salt Lake City at night. Man, that is a tough place to play.
Yes, it is.
Their non-conference schedule is very, very tricky. They've got San Diego State. You know how good they are. They're good. They could lose that game. It is in Salt Lake City, but if you're not quite ready, that's an ambush. And that game at Florida is very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. I don't think Florida is very good, but does Utah think they can go down there and win?
Utah should beat them.
They should think they can.
Yeah.
But you know what? Utah's not used to doing that. And that's the game that's a question mark for me when I'm picking them. You know, you look at if it was like Oregon going down there where, you know, they've won a lot of games. Utah's never been able to get over that hump, you know, and win that game they got to win to get into the national picture. I like them a lot. I love the quarterback. They got a really good running back. We know their defense is going to be good. They got USC at home. So what is there not to like about them? 8.5, I think, is low. I could see 10. I got them at 9. I think they might lose a couple somewhere. Their schedule's a little difficult. And I'm kind of thinking Oregon might, or Florida might beat them. If they beat Florida, they're going to win 10, I think. But I'm going over for sure.
Yeah, I'll go over as well. I think they'll go to Florida and win. Although, Florida's another one, new coach. Maybe they just kind of needed a change of direction.
Yep, huge game for them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on. Washington is next. 2 to go. Washington is the next team we'll talk about here. They're at 7, even though they went 4-8 a season ago. They kind of just didn't look good last year. Everything kind of went wrong. 8 back on offense, 5 back on defense. And like I mentioned, Michael Penix is here. He was the Indiana quarterback that was the darling during the COVID year. He shows up here at Washington. I think this is going to be an improved team, but are they improved enough to get over the 7.5 mark?
I like the coaching hire. I think he'll be fine. Can Penix stay healthy? That's a big question mark. The guy's hurt all the time. I don't know how good that is. That's what's holding me back with them. They were so bad on offense last year. They got a break. They don't have Utah on the schedule or USC. So that's a break for them right there. So 7.5. That means to go over, they got to win 8. I got him at 7. I'm going under.
I got him at 8. I'm going to go
all
over.
Right.
This is another team I usually kind of make them a little better than what they are. I think the schedule sets up pretty well for them. The key is going to be the Michigan State game.
Yes.
I think it's a toss-up game. If they lose it, they may win 6 or 7. If they win it, I think they're going to win 8. So,
you nailed it. You nailed it.
With over.
All right.
All right. Last one here. Washington State. They are at 5.5 this year. They went 7-6 last year. They've lost a lot of guys, though. So that's going to be a big-time question mark. Cameron Ward comes in at quarterback. He was an incarnate word last year. So, but he was a highly hyped guy. Had to go to incarnate word. Now he's back in the big time here. Like I said, though, not a lot of guys returning around him. 5.5 is where they've got Washington State. Let's round it out. What do you think of the Cougs?
I'm not impressed with a quarterback that comes from incarnate word. What his stats are. I mean, it's just a big difference between the two. He'll probably step in and do okay, but can he win at some of these places like USC and Oregon State and those places? I don't know. Tough game at Wisconsin in the non-conference. I don't think they win that. They need to win all 3 non-conference games. Washington State does usually. They have a really good season. I think they're a little down. I got them under.
I think they'll go under as well. They're a type of team, man. It's just hard for them to consistently win. Mike Leach was about the only one that's been able to consistently get wins with them at over 500. So I'm going to go under as well for the Cougars. All right, that's it. That'll do it. We've ran through the Big Ten. We ran through the Pac-12. I think next week we'll do the ACC and the American Conference. How about that?
Sounds good.
Well, so you're going to have vacation next week. Are we going to have a show next week?
Yeah, I think I can probably do one. We can. Okay. We may have to do it in the daytime, but
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I may be out of commission when we're driving.
Okay.
But other than that, I think you'll hear from me. So
all right. Well,
anyway, yeah, heading for Florida in the morning. So
all right, I like it. I like it a lot. Now I've got to figure out how to end this show on my phone, and that's going to be a little bit of a challenge here for us. Let's see. Okay, I think I've got it figured out.
Right.
So, yeah, a little bit of a makeshift here. I never knew we could kind of. Oh, look at that! I got that one. Yeah, our show, Papa Dude Talking OU.
We could do one real easy, Kevin. Between Aaron and I, we could probably do a 2-hour.
Here, I'll tell you. Hold on. I'll tell you when it's going to happen. Let me pull up their schedule here. I'll give you the exact date of when it'll happen. Oh, well, the week after they lose to Nebraska, we'll probably do a full hour on that. So,
I don't have that penciled in as a guaranteed win. So,
well, we're in big trouble if we lose. Let's just put it that way. We're in big time trouble. All right, I think I've got this figured out. If I don't and we're still here, then sorry, but I think I'm going to say goodbye to everybody now. I thought I would do this. I think that's the outro. Okay, we're going to give this a shot. All right, thanks everybody for watching this week. Hopefully I've got the big computer back out next week. It's not on the phone, but hey, it wasn't terrible for what we did.
It worked out.
All right, guys, we will see you next week. Papa Dude, have a good time.
All right. Thank y'all.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels, never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes.